This is Frank Islam, Chairman and CEO FI Investment Group, and your host of Washington Current Review, where we interview leading voices from business, politics, that impact you, the viewer. Today, our guest is Arun Kumar. Arun, welcome to our show. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for, it's a pleasure to be here on your show, Frank.
Sure. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a journalist. I've been in the business for about 45 years or so. I started with a small magazine in Ahmedabad, and then I worked for India's largest news agency, PTI.
Press Trust of India.
Press Trust of India for about 30 years, working in Pakistan for 4 years, another 4 in China.
When did you work in Pakistan?
Pakistan was 80 to 84.
82, okay.
And then in China from 84 to 88.
Wow. The two neighbors of India.
Yeah.
And then when you came to the United States?
Yeah, I came to the US in 2006 after leaving PTI. I came to the US in 2006 as the representative of IANS.
IANS. And that stands for?
Indo-Asian News Service.
Okay.
It's, you could say, this is the second largest wire service in India.
Okay.
And also the largest independent news wire.
Okay.
I mean, it's not owned by any, unlike the PTI, which is owned by the newspapers in India.
Okay.
This is an independent news agency.
So let me start out with a couple of questions first. I'll get back to the Indo-US relationship and President Obama's visit, but I went with the President to attend the US-India CEO Summit in India.
Yeah.
But I want to talk to you about the journalism, the freedom journalism in this country. You covered Pakistan, you covered in China,
yeah.
You covered the United States.
Yeah.
What's it like to be a journalist in the United States compared to India, China, and Pakistan?
Well, it's a different ball game altogether, especially if you're talking of Pakistan. I mean, again, I'm talking of 1980, 84, when President Zia was the dictator or the military ruler of
Sure.
So it was a different, I don't know what's the situation today, but then I was followed all the time. There was a guy parked outside my house all the time, and even when
watching you all the time?
Maybe I'm watching or whatever.
Okay.
Even when I went for a walk with my wife and 1-year-old kid, someone would follow me on a motorbike or a car.
In Pakistan?
In Pakistan.
Same thing in China?
No, China not followed, but they were more subtle, like they had video cameras in the
They were a little more sophisticated.
They were more sophisticated.
But the idea was the same.
Idea was the same, where
There's
you're
no
going,
freedom
who
of
you're
press.
meeting. Yeah. So
what's it like to be in the United States? This
much,
is a great
as I
country.
said, yeah, it's, but I don't know, but then today's technology is there. I don't know who is watching me and who's not watching me. But it's I mean, like I would say.
The freedom of press is part of our constitution, just like in India.
Sure. So
we have a shared interest with India and shared values.
Yeah, so I think in India it's free. It's almost like in the US, or much more than US in a way, because there one can make all sorts of comments.
Sure. So tell me a little bit about President Obama's visit to India, and then I will talk a little bit about US-India relationship, where we are in terms of the trajectory, and also is it upward or is it downward? Tell me a little bit about the two questions.
Okay. As far as President Obama's visit is concerned, I think it was a huge success. Initially, it was supposed to be just a symbolic visit because of President visiting to
celebrate the Republic Day.
To celebrate the Republic Day,
right.
And then a President going there for the first President going there twice in office. But then, when it turned out to be pretty substantive. There was a breakthrough in the
US-India nuclear agreement. What about the insurance things? Is that working it out in terms of the insurance?
No, I'm not sure that. Like as I said, as far as
it has not been signed, by the way, yet.
No, it has not been signed.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's supposed to be. They were supposed to meet in London. The contact group was supposed to meet in London again to work out some of the kinks or whatever it is, and the thing. But here again, going back to the nuclear deal, here as one of the diplomats, Srinivasan, who was the governor of the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency. As he says, the question is not about a solution to the liability issue, but a way in the sense that you are willing to resolve issues. You are willing to look at issues. You are so. I'm not sure, like even after 6 years, it would actually fructify the nuclear deal. I mean, as far as the nuclear trade is concerned, but
so it has a path forward.
Yeah, it's a path forward.
And I think that's what Mr. Srinivasan is talking about.
Yeah, that's what he's talking
that we
about.
Work out the
you
differences.
are willing to talk. I mean,
we are willing to work out the differences.
See, and that's not only about this issue. Instead of talking at each other,
talking to each other,
we are now talking to each other,
which is what we want.
Yeah, that's how it should be.
So tell me a little bit about the President about the nuclear deal. That there was also the purpose of the trip was, as you probably know, is to talk to the prime ministers in terms of the trying to do a easier way to do business with India, and we talked a little bit about that, and we made some recommendation.
Right.
But the purpose also was to promote commerce, trade, and investment. So tell me a little bit about beside the nuclear deal. There was a lot of other things that happened over there. So that's just not the symbolic and the photo op, there was substance to it. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, true. Like the US IBC has mentioned that they want to take the trade from the current level of 100 billion to 500 billion.
Yes, in about 5 years.
In about 5 years, that's true. But then, as they say in China, the first step, 40,000-mile journey begins with the one step.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, it does.
Right. So that's it. And so, I mean, there is a will on both sides. There's a will on both sides. Again, as I mentioned about the nuclear deal, there's a what is called commitment, or there is a will to get around issues, whatever the issues are there. Like in the case of the trade facilitation agreement, they were able to find a solution to take care of India's concerns. So
my take is, Arun, since I was part of the delegations, and I don't mean to interrupt you, I saw there's a little bit of hope and optimism on both sides, that we can work together. We are great partners, and it's very important for us to move forward as a partner, because it's important that the India becomes a global economic power.
Right.
So we have a shared interest and shared values, and hopefully a shared common destiny.
Right.
So there were a lot of, and I think the Prime Minister is committed, and I think and I believe he's very smart, he's savvy, and he's a disciplined, and he's a business oriented. And when we presented to the CEO conference, he said, I will make it easiest to do business. So let's see what happens.
Yeah.
So what you, in terms of the relationship between the prime ministers and the chemistry, which is very important, what's your thoughts on that, Ed? The chemistry between Prime Minister Modi as well as President Obama?
I think it was very
warm and cordial.
Yeah, very warm, and like it says, as one of the people who were there, and you were there too.
Yes.
There were lots of hugs and so on. It was marked by and right from, I mean, people had, when Mr. Modi came to power, there were fears among some of the critics and others, some of the analysts, that he would be having a baggage. But Mr. Obama took the first step, and he reached out to him, and not to maybe surprisingly.
Well, he congratulated him when he became the prime minister, which is that's the first step.
Very first step he took.
Yeah.
And Modi reciprocated in equal measure. Reciprocated in equal measure.
Yes.
And when he came to Washington in September, it was obvious, and when they went out, I mean, maybe till then it was formal, but when they went out to Martin Luther King's memorial, things changed. I mean, that showed the kind of they had hit it off.
There's a lot of commonality between Martin Luther King and the Mohandas, Mr. Gandhi, because they were both for the peace and nonviolence.
Yeah.
And when Martin Luther King went there in 1959, obviously all the movements of the civil rights movement and human rights movement came from that visit.
Yeah.
I just got the award from Martin Luther King Award not too long ago, so I can say a little bit about the indelible connection between India and the United States.
Right.
So the chemistry is good. There's a commitment on both sides. But what about the foreign investment? Obviously, there's a lot of investors that is still somewhat concerned about the easing of being a business, and also the economic reform which is needed, and also the judicial system is not there. There's a lot of red tape. One of the fellow from Marriott has said that it takes 14 layers of paperwork and trying to build a Marriott Hotel in Maharashtra. So there's a little bit of problem with that. There's an investment that's needed in infrastructure, improving the infrastructure. Also the 21st century workforce, the human capital is not there because they're not trained workforce. So tell me, shed me a little bit light on that. What your thoughts are?
Well, that indeed is a problem.
Do you think they will do it? Do you think they will get it done?
I'm sure they would be able to do it. Not, I mean, it's not, I would say, optimism with caution or cautious optimism, because as you rightly pointed out, and as Obama mentioned, Modi is a man of action. He gets things done, and right now about 1,500 plus old laws are being repealed. But his only problem is that he does not have the majority in the
but in the Rajya Sabha.
In the Rajya Sabha.
Yeah.
So the issues like
Rajya Sabha, by the way, is the upper house. Upper part.
Rajya Sabha is the upper house.
Yeah.
It's not like the Senate, but on like financial bills and all that, Lok Sabha is supreme. And then again, if need be for very, very crucial legislation, the two houses can have a joint session. If the two houses differ on an issue, they can meet together and have a joint session. But then that's a rare thing. My hope is essentially based on one thing, that as everyone knows, the previous former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh is known as the architect of the what is called India's liberalization or opening up.
The economic reform.
Yeah, all the economic reforms were undertaken by him, and all the subsequent governments, to begin with Mr. Vajpayee's government, which followed, which was there for about 6 years. They also continued with the reforms. Then there were other governments, like one headed by Mr. Deve Gowda and the other one by Inder Gujral. All they continued the reforms, and so now they are in opposition. And basically, essentially, if Mr. Modi can reach out to the Congress, and I'm sure, because without the cooperation of the opposition, like Obama says here too, President Obama says here too, things cannot be done by executive action alone.
Well, I think the other issue is obviously all these challenges that you have in not having the majority in the Rajya Sabha, which is the upper house of the state. The state has its own regulations, and the state does not have a BJP government. It has its own regional government and so on and so forth. And some of the regulation that I just talked to you is really coming from the states also. So how the state and the central government is going to work together?
Well, I mean, as far as the foreign direct investment,
the FDI,
these are concerned. These are central areas. I mean, where you are talking about is the local laws relating to whether you get water or you get electricity or like that, and also for the infrastructure. But like when Prime Minister Modi was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, he showed the way. I mean, he could get things done.
He did.
And there are quite a few states where BJP is in power. Let's see. I mean,
so you see the brighter horizon.
Yeah. Sure,
okay.
Sure.
So let's talk about the. When I was there, obviously, I saw a little bit of statement from Pakistan, some China about the. Obviously, the president made a visit to India twice and never went to Pakistan. What's your take about all these things? And I firmly believe, and the United States believes also, that it's in India's interest to make sure that Pakistan is peaceful, safe, secure, and have a prosperity because they're a neighbor. And so I want to talk to me a little bit about that, and then talk a little bit about the China did not obviously like the U.S. nuclear deal also, and the Pakistan didn't like it either. So shed me some light because you live in both countries. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, as far as Pakistan is concerned, I think you could. They think they are equal to India.
They're what?
They're equal to India. You could call it sibling rivalry or whatever it is.
Sibling rivalry is a good word?
Yeah. So maybe because of that, and they can't really reconcile to the fact that they are no longer in the same league after they were dehyphenated from India in India-US relations.
You're talking about the partition 1947.
Yeah,
right.
But I'm talking of when we are talking about India-US relations or India-US-Pakistan relations, there was a time when no one went to India unless he also went to Pakistan. But like you have seen in the last few visits, President went to India, didn't go to Pakistan.
No, he did not.
And similarly, some of the previous visits
but
too.
the United States needs Pakistan as a partner
No,
to fight the terrorism and extremism.
But the question here is, here we are talking about, we were talking about the nuclear deal.
You're
we are
right.
talking about, and one of the criticisms they made was that it would set off what is called arms race between the two. For one thing, you don't need to have an arms race because you just need one bomb.
That's right.
So
to destroy humanity.
Yeah, to destroy humanity. So it's mutually assured destruction, as they call. So that is one part. And secondly, it's not the nuclear deal. It's not about arms. It's essentially about power, energy, and India needs it, and so does Pakistan. So I think. Pakistan, again, because they have to make noises about this whenever something happens in the case of India, they were also opposed to India being a member of the Security Council. So as far as Pakistan is concerned, I can understand their problems.
What about China?
China again, China doesn't
China's
have
a pretty
to be,
powerful.
Yeah, China is a very powerful country. But there again, I don't know, I don't understand. Maybe what we did or what was perhaps hit their raw nerve when we spoke about South China Sea, and he did the joint statement or the vision statement issued by India and the US did not say anything exceptional when they said that any territorial disputes in the area should be resolved peacefully in accordance with the international law.
Right.
And as again President Obama told Rafiq Zakaria. That the India, I mean,
Fareed Zakaria.
Fareed Zakaria.
Right.
Fareed Zakaria. That the China doesn't have to fear growing relationship with India and the US, because all relationships stand on their own. And the US has a pretty strong relationship with China too.
Of course. In some cases not reciprocal, but we do have a. The question that I also have, and I know you know this thing, the Indian American has played a very important role, the diaspora community in the United States. They're prosperous, they're modern immigrant, they also engage in politically. So I have a couple of questions on that. What role can they play in basically enhancing we already have a good relationship, enhancing the US-India relationship, and also why should they be engaged politically in this country? And the third question is, why is it important to have a people-to-people dialogue, business-to-business dialogue, in addition to government-to-government dialogue?
I'll begin with the last one.
Okay.
Because it flows from that. Because you said, why is it important to have people-to-people dialogue? People-to-people dialogue, I mean, people-to-people relations stay. They stand on a firmer
That's a good
foundation.
Point you made.
Firmer foundation, and so that way, irrespective of which government is in power or something,
absolutely
you
right.
would have those relationships with the people back there, back home. So, flowing from that is the fact that if this people-to-people relationship is on a firmer ground, then it's what is called. It would also be on a firmer ground as far as the government-to-government relations
That's
are
a true
concerned.
statement.
Because again, I go back to the first question which you mentioned about what role they can play.
Right.
They played a huge or a key role in when the initial nuclear deal was signed.
They sure did.
Without that, I don't think it would have been possible to
that is a true
get
statement.
it through. And secondly, again, when Prime Minister Modi came to India came to the US for the first time in September, he was given a rock star reception.
Are you talking about the Madison Square Garden?
Yeah.
He was a rock star.
He was given.
He should try to woo all those Patel to build a hotel in India because they own 40% of the hotel in this country.
Yeah. So that also had an effect,
a strong impact
on the powers to be in Washington.
That is a true statement.
So that way certainly the Indian American people can play a key role in improving India.
Well, I really do see the brighter horizon in terms of the relationship with the US India and we need to broaden, strengthen, and deepen our commitment. And they will be a great partner for us.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming to the show. I appreciate it very much, and good luck to you.
Thank you so much.
This is Frank Islam wishing you a great week. Thank you for watching.